Yeah. So Richie, tell them about the video that you found that we were looking at this morning.
No, I was waiting for something to do on my machine, and I just popped in Instagram, and I started scrolling, and all of a sudden I see by Jose Andres, and we ate there, Brent, and I'm like, oh, what's this link again? And so it was this like 6-minute video of this restaurant that has like 12 seats and super. So you had to get reservations like
3 months in advance.
Yeah, whatever. And 2.5 hours, 23 courses or something like that. It's amazing. It was crazy.
You don't get the menu. There's no sign on the door. You have to have a ticket, and you have to know where to go. And then you just go back in the back of this restaurant in Jose Andres in Vegas. And it's just 8 seats in a little half circle, and the cooks work right in front of you, making everything. You don't know what you're getting. They're just kind of taking the veil off things, and ta-da! And it's amazing.
And it's like cotton candy empanadas. It's like
with foie gras in the center. Yes.
Yeah. And the sangria slushy was my favorite. That was just
yeah.
Like I keep trying to go to 7-Eleven and places like that looking, do you have sangria flavored? No, you don't?
Well, or see what the trick is you just have to walk past the counter, and around back behind the counter, it's the secret door. You just start knocking until you find the secret door, and then they let you in. It's right by the gun. Oh, what a mess. All right, let's see here. Anand says, do y'all know if Azure has a good hybrid DR option? We're rolling on to SQL Server 2014 on-premises, and I was just told we're going to need disaster recovery. I like that. We were told we were going to need disaster recovery. Currently, we don't have any, and it's just me, so I thought maybe Azure might have something better than physical servers.
I love just picturing this conversation where it's like, this is going to be a disaster.
We need to be able to recover from this disaster. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't know about Azure. We actually wrote white papers on a topic or a technique that works across all cloud providers. I'll point way over to I got the wraparound thing. I can almost point over to Tara. So Tara, about that the white paper that you wrote for Google.
Yeah, I mean, are they looking into it? It's a cheap solution, but it is a very valid solution. So sending your backups to the cloud into a storage bucket, and then when the time comes, spinning up a VM and getting your system restored over there. We just tackled the SQL Server component. You really can get your system up and running fairly fast, but make sure that you understand what you need to do to get to your application servers, web servers. Make sure you're sending your source code to the cloud also, because having your database backups is not enough to get your site back up and running.
Yeah, and if your company already has like pretty tightly defined RPO and RTO goals, you need to make sure that there's a separate discussion around what they're going to be for DR, especially if you use like the sort of cheaper DR option where you're just sending the backups up, because oftentimes it's going to be outside what your current windows are. It's just not going to be as immediate or as fast as manual work involved to bring stuff online.
And you can still use the white paper to, if your RPO and RTO is lower, just make sure you're not only sending your backups to the storage bucket, also have the restores happening, the VM set up and the restores happening.
Rakesh says, I've got multi-subnet always-on availability group. If I have JDBC and it goes to connect to the listener, is it going to attempt to get all of the IPs? Hold on a second. Let me finish answering. He also says, my application is working fine, but the log file is filled with errors. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, that's like a 3-part question. All right, let me sum up and rephrase. So he's using always-on availability groups, and he's using the option where it'll automatically try to connect to all of the servers at once. Is it a problem that logins are failing on the servers that aren't the primary?
I'm confused by the question, because he's asking if it will connect to all IPs, and that's going to be dependent upon if your database driver supports multi-subnet failover. It says you're using JDBC but doesn't provide the version number. JDBC 4.0 does offer the multi-subnet failover equal true option. So make sure you're on JDBC 4.0, and I would hope you are, since that driver's been around for a very long time. You shouldn't be on older stuff. And then your connection string needs to include multi-subnet failover equals true into it. I'm wondering if you're getting 50% success on the for the. Is it just the secondary servers that have the errors?
He didn't say, but I would bet it is.
Yeah, because I don't know that the errors on the secondary, I guess that would be trying to connect to it if you don't have multi-failover subnet in there. So you check your driver version and check your connection string. Multi-subnet failover equals false is the default, so you have to turn it on. And Microsoft actually recommends that you go ahead and enable this feature, even if you aren't using a multi-subnet configuration. They indicate there's some performance benefits with just using availability groups, even in a single subnet.
Oh, this is interesting. He follows up with, we're using JDBC 6.2. Okay, that's good. We're getting 100% success, but the errors are in the application log indicating connection failure. The application event log on the SQL server or the app servers?
Yeah.
It's the app servers. I don't think we care. We're database administrators. We're like,
I don't even have access to those servers.
yeah, Rakesh says it's in the application server. Yeah, then don't worry about it. That's, as far as I'm concerned, that's an application problem.
Filter them out.
Tishal asks, where can I get good information on SQL Server deadlocks?
Good information.
Good information is tough.
I don't know. Jonathan Cahias would be who I would think of. He loves deadlock troubleshooting. He might be the only person in the entire world that loves it. They're frustrating. I'm just like, have you enabled RCSI? Because that's where I'm starting.
It is hard. Erik actually wrote a tool around it too as well.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, I was drunk on a plane with Brent, so if there are any errors, don't take them personally. It's in the first responder kit, so if you head over to firstrespondekit.org, there's a stored procedure in there called SP Blitzlock, which is, I guess, a little misleading because it's actually to look at deadlocks. You can either have it look at the system health extended event session. It only works on 2012 plus because the deadlock definition changed a whole bunch and the XML isn't documented anywhere, so I'm just kind of crap out of luck on that. But it'll look at either the system health extended event session, or if you have a custom extended event session to capture deadlocks, you can pass that in as one of the parameter variables or whatever. And it'll give you back all sorts of cool parsed out information about which queries did what and when and all sorts of stuff.
It's really awesome. I even like it just for regular deadlock or regular locks, not even deadlocks, because half the time there's some deadlocking involved. It's just not big, and it gives you a place to go start. Since Cahias is really hard to spell, I got it up on the screen there as well. He's got several posts about it. The Simple Talk one is fantastic. It's really good.
You're IEing again.
I am. I got to put Chrome on this thing. It's so terrible.
Going on?
It's so bad.
Well, you got to use IE no matter what, because it's a browser you don't use. There's no history in it. There's no bookmarks. It's like the only public-facing safe browser you can do is that, and you can only Bing things so that your Google. Otherwise, don't. No, avoid Chrome in public. Use Chrome.
So true.
I have a little bit of a funny story since we don't have a whole lot of questions in the queue anyway. So in February, 1st, trying to get a permit to a very popular place, and you went to the website, a couple minutes before the 7 a.m. when it was supposed to go live. And in Chrome, it would not refresh it, Control F5, all of this other stuff, and it would not pull up the reserve button. And so I was like, you know what? It's probably a caching issue, even though I tried all the tricks. And so I pulled up Edge. I didn't, Microsoft Edge was on this computer, and sure enough, it worked over there. So I was able to complete my permit and get this really extremely hard permit because I hadn't gone to the website yet in Edge. A lot of people encountered it, and it would work from their phone, but not their desktop because they'd gone.
That's crazy.
I would have thought of using my phone before I would have thought of using Azure.
I was panicking too.
Stuff like that happens to me a lot with Microsoft sites. Like I'll open them in Chrome, and it'll say like error connection refused or like connection broken. But then I open it in Edge, and it's like comes right up. I'm like, okay, come on, guys. It's like,
see, I don't even think about it for that. It's just like, I just don't get to go to that page today, I guess.
I get with Books Online and TechNet kind of stuff all the time. Yeah, you have to log in to see this. Screw you.
I haven't ever encountered that, huh?
Let's see. Adrian says he has a follow-up on last week's slow tempdb latency. He had 8 virtual core server. It had 8 data files, 9 seconds latency on each tempdb data file. Now that he only has 1 tempdb data file, the latency is only 12 milliseconds. No more sad trombone. I have a hunch it's not related to the number of files. I have a hunch that something else is going on, but it's possible. I just... I think
it seems like the opposite of the way things usually go.
Yeah, it's possible. It is possible. They might have, there's so many.
I mean, in order for this stuff to take effect, they had to restart the SQL Server, so I wonder if something else happened there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, like patching or something else too as well, or just a parameter sniffing issue. Phil says, my company wants to migrate SQL Server up to Azure. What the? Okay, hold on.
No.
My company, God bless you, Phil. This is a good question. My company wants to migrate some SQL Server databases to Azure Cosmos DB in order to go faster. They use the XML data type, so they see it as a silver bullet. Are there any metrics you know of to evaluate RDBMS to document DB suitability?
How is Richie still standing?
He's just shaking his head.
I mean, if you're using XML as a document and you're storing it in a relational database, you're missing the point, right? So you need to shred all that out and put it into a relational manner. You're using a relational database as a document data store. So you're going to get bad performance from that. Even though you could get XML indexes and all this other crazy stuff on top of it, you're going to get better performance from a document database when you're using documents. That's just kind of the way it is. Now, if there's any metrics or anything that I know, no, you just got to put a test set and say, here's one, here's the other, and then go for it. But the document database is always going to be faster for documents.
The other thing is, Azure Cosmos DB has like nothing that SQL Server has. It doesn't have any of the fancy pants stuff that SQL Server does. Transaction logging. You get snapshot point-in-time backups like once every 4 hours, and that's it. The thing that I would usually ask companies too is, okay, so you're going to rewrite the data layer, right? Because you now have a totally different layer going over to Cosmos DB. Of course it's going to be faster because you're not going to be so drunk this time when you go rewrite it. You're like, oh, we never should have built it that way. We never should have built this. And it's going to be faster when you rewrite it. So,
yeah, it's, or you could take a look at it and say, do I have relational data? Am I storing it in XML because somebody was, like Brent said, drunk at that day and whatnot, and we just stored it in XML because we're lazy or somebody was lazy? But is this relational data? I think that question needs to be asked first before you go and, well, what's my database going to be? Well, what kind of data do I have? Then you can answer the database question.
Pablo's asking us an interesting one. Have any of y'all used add@dbts, the timestamp?
Oh, I was like, what is that?
No, I've never used this either. All right, so this is none of us, Pablo. We won't be able to give you a good answer, but what I would do is ask it on dba.stackexchange.com. I've never seen that either. So,
just to follow up a little bit on Phil's thing, using XML and SQL Server like relationally is just like throwing your database the hardest knuckleball you can possibly throw it. Whatever is in that document is like kind of unknown. Like getting to certain paths and attributes and like evaluating them is just a nightmare. It's like this is nothing that the optimizer is good at or was built for, and there's no special rules built in to like make XML better for that. So if you're querying XML in SQL Server without XML indexes or without parsing it out first, yeah, it's gonna suck all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Phil follows up with, yes, XML does suck.
JSON's not any better.
It's not XML. It's just a data format. I mean, it's just SQL Server just wasn't designed for XML. Yeah, it's a CSV. It's just a data format. SQL Server was designed for relational data. You need to put it in rows and columns, and then you could do other things and make it super fast. But when you don't do that and you just throw data at a row and a column and say, here, go and search for something, it doesn't like it. I mean, and it doesn't matter if it's XML or JSON. It's using the same things behind the scenes.
Files, all kinds of stuff.
That next query is hard.
Says the guy who writes XQuery.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. It's not fun.
You're insane.
Steve says, I'm going to go install a new instance of SQL Server 2017, and it's just a dev instance. Are there any new gotchas with 2017?
Oh, what version is he coming from? Is it below 2012 or older? Because, I mean, the new gotcha from 2014 up is the new cardinality estimator, which can cause some performance degradation for some queries. So just be aware of that if you're coming from an older version or you are using a compatibility level that is 2012 or older.
Which segues beautifully into Jordan asks, I ran into the new 2016 cardinality estimator issue with a script. I have several tables joined with 2 views. Oh, we're off to a good start. It took less than 2 minutes on 2008 R2. You were happy with that? Less than 2 minutes on 2008 R2 and over 15 minutes on 2016. If I remove either view in the join, it goes back to 2 minutes. My solution right now is to use use a forced legacy cardinality estimation. Do you have any concerns?
Yes.
Yeah, but not with the hint.
Yeah.
I'm concerned with everything you're doing that's leading up to the hint. I hear joining to views, and in my head, I immediately see views within views views that are joined to other views. And I know that the problem is not like that. I know the problem is in that process. Like someone, like it's like what the code that Brent always talks about that's like 90 years old that no one wants to touch because if you like move a comma, it breaks. So I feel for you on that, but my concern isn't with you hinting the old cardinality estimator. That's what it's there for.
There you go.
Yeah, Jordan followed up and he said, well, if we're honest, the real problem is that it's a select and a cursor, which is the real type.
Is there a trigger and a function? What kind of thing? What kind of sadistic bingo are you playing?
Non-searchable process, yes. Golly. Now or what?
Please tell me the database is less than a gig. That's...
By the way, it's in AdventureWorks.
Wow.
He gives an industry, but I'm not going to repeat that on here just in case, because the thing's recorded, of course, and put in publicly. But yes. Yeah. Does it give us concern? If it makes it go fast, just to get, obviously you specialize in duct taping things together in order to get past the next hump. So this should be perfectly comfortable with you. It's normal. Let's see. Robert says, I have a VM configured with 8 sockets and 1 core per socket.
Ooh.
That's unusual.
And why boo?
No, I'm not going to answer that. You know I won't.
This is... You go ahead.
No, okay. So why boo is, I mean, just immediately, whenever I see someone who has done this, it's always on standard edition and they always have cores and or memory offline. I don't have any particular gripe with the setup outside of that. Like as long as it fits within your licensing and everything's online and available, I kind of don't care. But I just immediately I jump to, you're on standard edition and 2 of your cores are completely offline and maybe memory, 4 of them are offline, sorry. And there's probably maybe even memory offline involved. I don't know.
Run SP Blitz to see if at the bottom of SP Blitz, there's a section that'll let you know if some of them are offline or not.
Consecare would do the same thing.
Ooh.
It sure would. Richie and I have caught a lot of people with cores and memory offline, and that's one of my favorite things to email people. Check this out. Your server's about to go twice as fast as soon as you... It's incredible.
It's in the hardware NUMA config section in SP Blitz, just to give a hint.
Philip, let's see here.
I think Niraj has a kind of an interesting question.
Oh, I don't even see that one yet. Go ahead.
He says, I'm not working and I'm looking for a job. What's the best way to set up my environment to practice until I get a job? And the media question, the answer I have for that is set up your environment for the job you want to get. If you want to do like perf tuning stuff, set up, whatever version of SQL Server Developer Edition, you have available to you. 2016 and 17 are totally free. Download a great big old honking database like Stack Overflow and do your practice and set up stuff in there. If you're looking for SSIS or ASRRS work or just like plain old DBA work, install whatever tools you need. If you're looking to do like infrastructure or prod stuff, spin up, use Hyper-V because it's free as all get out, and you can create VMs, create primary domain controllers, make AGs, mirroring, log shipping, whatever. Set up your environment for the job you want. That's the best advice I have.
I like that. There's also the Microsoft Virtual Labs too. Open up Internet Explorer. Brace yourselves, everybody. Microsoft Virtual Labs SQL Server. So Microsoft Marketing wants to get you to get the latest certifications and play around with the new technology. So they do their own labs online that you can go through. I'm not going through all those SQL Server. So there's a bunch of self-paced labs on here that you can go through.
Why does Stretch Database come up first?
Marketing's like, come on, we got to get this pig to fly.
Someone use it. Someone.
But the thing that I adore about these are they're all free, and you don't have to use them to do what the labs want you to do. They're just VMs, so you can use them for anything you want. You can set up database mirroring. You can set up log shipping. There is a gotcha.
Bitcoin.
My Bitcoin. The gotcha is that there's no copy paste, and they're kind of siloed off from an internet perspective. So it makes it really hard to go download the stuff you want. But as long as what you want is included in the box product, it's easy enough to play around inside there and totally free. I want to say they go away after 2 hours or something like that. But
yeah, I think they have a time limit on them.
Yeah, pretty short. Michael asks, is there any overhead from calling a procedure in one database from another database? Like if I'm in AdventureWorks and I go call something in Northwind.
I mean, like from like performance, like finding the procedure perspective, it's minimal.
As long as it's not on another server, we're using a link server. It just sounds like it's on the same instance.
Then he says, is there any significant overhead in using one procedure to call another? We're keeping legacy procedures in an old location while reorganizing where the current prod production lives. Procs live.
No, but it can make your plan cache really confusing because whatever store procedure calls sub-store procedures will get all of the resource usage attributed to it. So if you have a store procedure that calls like 3 other procs, and you run the tool like SP, let's say, I don't know, let's go crazy, SP Blitz Cache, and you see that calling store procedure way up at the top of the list, just keep in mind that whatever all three of those store procs do is going to be attributed to that calling proc. So it can make things a little confusing, but there's generally nothing like, crazy insane that's going to go wrong with it.
And then Pablo asks, what would be the best allocation unit size for my disks where I host my data files when I format my drives?
We're here from 2003, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Join the view with cursors and data files. Whatever your vendor documentation says. If you're using local disks, then I don't know. I can't remember the last time I even bothered thinking about that. Like when I first started here, and a lot of people were still using SQL Server 2003, we would look at disk allocation and like that
Windows Server.
Windows Server 2003. Sorry. But yeah, we used to look at that way back then. Like there was some like DOS commands, but now I can't remember that. Like most people on SANS and whatever else, just whatever the vendor docs say.
Because half the time they're using a different format under the covers anyway. Like NetApp, it's all 4K underneath. Oh, Kevin asks, so what is a good replacement for linked servers?
Where's that bearded guy? That guy with the beard that was supposed to be here that has a good replacement for linked servers.
Yes.
What's that guy?
Andy Leonard.
Andy Leonard, that's right. What's that thing he uses? What's that
I
thing
think
that I
it's
still haven't opened?
Reporting services or something like that?
Almost.
DTS packages.
Yeah, that was it. DTS packages.
Sissy, sizes.
That right.
SSIS. SSIS is a great replacement for linked servers because there's no linking. It's just a thing that sits there and moves data around.
I mean, it also depends on what the link servers are doing. If you're just using it to grab data, bulk type stuff, then SSIS. But if it's not a bulk type thing, then your application should be smart enough to go to another server to grab data, and then maybe join the data together at the application side.
Ooh.
Yeah,
how much data we're talking about here, and how much transactions are involved, and are we using an ORM to get all this data?
Oh my goodness, we should.
Leave that out later. Can you blank that section? I want to do over on that.
Kevin says it's researchers pulling data into their working databases.
Oh, just use Access. Just kidding.
That's different. Yeah, in that case, SSIS is magical. Like I'd be like, totally teach them how to start transforming the data, put it into different style. SSIS is great for that. Yeah. I would just make sure that they And this is not a plug for Andy's class, but it's just a plug for any kind of education. Make sure that they know vaguely what they're doing. Otherwise, they're going to hook SSIS up to production and suck all the tables down every time. They're not going to do any change detection. They're just going to try and pull all the data down every time. Adrian says, Adrian, does this follow up on his tempdb, I think? He says, I'm using SentryOne to look at data patterns as well, and we can see that all the I/O is only flowing to the primary data file now. I will do a restart and revert if there's anything insightful I can find.
He's the one that mentioned the 9-second wait. Yeah. And so I said, he said he hasn't even restarted the server, but those changes don't even take effect until you restart the SQL service at least. So I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, he mentioned something earlier about 1 meg auto growths and stuff too. So I wonder if like you don't have instant file initialization turned on and your disks are like not able to keep up with the growth and everything, lots of little growths.
Or the files are all different sizes. Like you added a bunch of more files and they're all really tiny. They all need to be exactly the same size. SQL Server will do proportional fill and work really heavily on the busy one.
Yeah, whatever the biggest file is, will kind of black hole all the stuff going on in there.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for everybody for hanging out, and we will see y'all next week on Office Hours. Adios, everybody.